Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for popping by here. And yes, today I am wanting to expand on the last video about releasing fear for good. And it just kind of came to me as I was going through my daily life, the next couple of videos, and just expanding on what we talked about in the last video. So if you haven't seen it yet, of course, I invite you to check it out. That being said, I'm sure if you're watching this video, if this video was presented to you in the YouTube search or whatever, that it has something in it for you. So, yes, this is a subject I have been so deep into about releasing fear. And one of these reasons why it's so beneficial to release fear. Of course, we don't have to. We can do whatever is best for us at our point in our journey. And I'll be honest, when I look back of my life, I'm glad that I had all those crazy experiences in fear. And why would that be? Well, once you know something, once you know this stuff, you can't unknow it. And so there would be no way for me to have those experiences at this level of consciousness that I'm at. So I can have gratitude for those experiences. Not that I want to go back, but I'm just saying that I can see the value of having those experiences in so many ways, in being able to grow, being able to have compassion for others who are going through a similar thing, and so yeah. But so why are we desiring though to release fear? Because if you're at this video, you're sick of it, I'm guessing, or getting there or close to it. And so another reason why it's so beneficial to release fear is that when we are in a fearful state, we are not thinking clearly. So many of you know that when you're in fear, it really messes with the nervous system. And when I say messes with it, what I mean is that there's basically two nervous systems. I'm not I don't know too much medical things, but I know there are two. And the one of them is when you're relaxed, when you're feeling good, when we could say we're in alignment with the truth of who we are, and everything in the body is working very well. And then the other nervous system that kicks in fear is also called the fight or flight nervous system. And this nervous system is you tense up, you get constricted, and you literally want to run away, you want to hide, you freeze, it's very it basically puts a lot of the blood to different parts of the body, and so there's much less blood going to the brain. And so literally one is not thinking to nearly their full capacity in this fight or flight mode, in this fear state. And this fear state, this could be even, triggered at the grocery store for some people, or even walking down the street. Like, this doesn't have to be very intense. This can be literally anything that causes someone to feel fear. And so when they're in this fear state, they're not thinking properly. And so what happens is it becomes much more difficult to make decisions. And this is also the really sad reason why so many horrific acts are done in fear. Why people can hurt other people and this kind of thing is because they're just not thinking clearly. And what is fear? It's fear of betrayal. And so they in their mind, they create this illusion that this person is going to betray them, so they're going to betray them first. So it's yeah, quite the illusion, but it's what we came here to experience, really, because from my memories of other lives on other planets, it was not like this. You couldn't have had this experience of fear in this density, in this way. And so that's another reason why I can be thankful for when I was living in fear and having those experiences, because I know that in all the incarnations I remember, only the ones on Earth I had that kind of experience. The other planets, they wouldn't even think of hurting each other. Like, it wouldn't even dawn on them. They're just at such a higher level of consciousness. And so yeah, it's an experience on Earth, and we come here to go through this, and once we do, then we are compelled to share with others. And so here I am. And what this brought up for me was this channeling I did from Archangel Christiel, and this was late in the summer. And just some background on Archangel Christiel, I learned about her when I was working with my causal chakra. So your causal chakra is kind of in the top back of the head, and this chakra, I see it's not in the physical body, it's outside of the physical body, kind of right here. And I see it as like a brilliant white with platinum sparkles, platinum silvery sparkles. And this chakra allows in divine feminine light. And this is important to balance us in this time. And so for each person it's different, and even one who is in a male body will benefit from having a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine. And that's a whole nother topic, but I just, before I get too off topic, I'm just explaining what I know about this causal chakra. So, and Archangel Christiel, she, to me, represents this beautiful purity, this divine feminine light in the fifth 5D divine feminine light. So, and honestly 5D and higher, I would think of it. But whenever I think of it coming in me, I think of it as like this balancing of the energies, just because in life we're often taught to go out and do, we got to go out here, we got to work here, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to be thinking all the time, we got to be doing all the time. And that's all masculine energy. Divine feminine is receiving. And what is receiving? We're receiving inspiration, we're receiving guidance, and that's in the form of energy, receiving energy to heal, and energy is love. So you can start to get the picture. So what I feel is, of course, having a nice balance for the individual being. Each being has what they would consider a perfect balance of these two energies. So, and the reason I learned about this chakra is when I was doing these art pieces where I intuit the geometry of a flower, and that flower is vibrational frequency art, and it actually activates different chakras. And you can check that all out in my art shop. The link's on my website and on my Instagram and in the YouTube here. But it was fascinating because I had never heard of Archangel Christiel before. And so Christiel, and you can kind of think of the Christ consciousness, what people call Christ consciousness, which is just 5D consciousness, which is being the divine in the divine, seeing all with unconditional love, no judgment, creator within your own creation. So that is kind of some background on Archangel Christiel from me, and depending on who you ask, I'm sure you get a lot of cool information from different people. But yeah, I had channeled her, and this was after a time where I had had an experience. And what I'm going to share first is the channeling analogy, and then I'll share the experience. So in this channeling is the most amazing analogy, and I would have never thought about this. And she's talking about these constricting emotions like we've been talking about. And she talks about how to imagine the constricting emotion as a boa constrictor, the snake. And only someone as pure and loving as Archangel Christiel could teach me about big snakes or talk to me about big snakes. But thankfully I've gotten over that fear. But it was still, at the time, it was like, whoa. So think of the boa constrictor. As soon as you feel that constricting, it's like the boa constrictor coming around you, just one loop around you. And she says to think of the boa constrictor as your friend, as another aspect of you, as love, as a loving friend, letting you know you're getting constricted. So you feel this constriction, and the analogy is this boa constrictor. And so at that point, you can say to the boa constrictor, thank you, my loving friend, for letting me know. I release you now. You are free to go. Something like that. And you can read this, the full channeling, on my website, fully available right now. So definitely check that out. It's awesome. But you say, it's time for you to go. But if you don't let the boa constrictor know it's time for you to go, pretty soon it's wrapped all around you and you're all constricted up, and you wonder how you got there. And so the message is to pay attention to your feelings, and when you feel that just little hint of constriction, think of the boa constrictor as your helpful friend on this journey, letting you know, hey, you're starting to feel constricted here. It's time to let that go. And so how does that happen, the letting go? Well, as we outlined in the previous video, we would feel it. We would feel, not thinking about it, just feeling it out. And then we would go through some steps to determine where that belief came from or where that came from. So yes, this boa constrictor analogy, it just blew my mind, and it's helped me so much in my life. And so I just had to share it on YouTube, even though it's already shared on my Instagram, on my website. But again, definitely check out the channeled message. And she goes on to mention that when you feel that constriction, and how fear is mentally constricting too. So that is like how we talked about in the beginning of this video, how that one in fear isn't even thinking properly, isn't thinking at full capacity. And so this analogy works at many different levels. And then she provided an amazing tool to to what to do in this kind of situation. So when you feel that constriction, of course, we talked about the letting go, but she gave this 2-step process that has been hugely helpful. And so this tool in tandem with that tool in the last video is going to be really, really helpful. So what is this? So to breathe. Step 1, breathe. Breathe a deep breath. Even just one deep breath. And how she said is when you breathe, you relax the body. And as the body relaxes, the mind becomes clear. So you breathe first. Second thing is you feel gratitude for something, anything. The 2 examples she gave was thankful for the oxygen you're breathing or the clothes on your back. But you could really be thankful for anything. You could be thankful for, oh, I like my pants. I'm thankful for this air. I'm thankful for my water bottle, etc., etc. Just be thankful for something. What does that do? When you feel gratitude, it brings you back to your center. So you've breathed, so you're relaxed. You feel gratitude, so now you're centered. So from this centered and relaxed place, now you can really let that emotion go. And sometimes, the reason I bring this up is because sometimes it's not even an emotion. Sometimes it's just a constricting thought, an old pattern. Maybe it's not necessarily like something to sit there and feel it out. It's just maybe you've already felt that emotion out, but there's this pattern that's on loop, and you just caught yourself in it when you felt that constriction. So breathe. Step 1, breathe. Step 2, feel gratitude. From this place, you will know. You have 2 choices. It's like, okay, I'm done with that. I can move on. The second one is, oh, I have some work here. I have something to let go of. So in that case, then you feel it out and feel the intensity, the duration, where it's coming from, and work your way back to that belief so you can shift your perspective on it. So yeah, that was the message from Archangel Christiel, and so I hope this assists you as much as it has assisted me. It's helped so much because you really can tell when you start paying attention to your feelings and being aware of your feelings, it becomes really easy to feel when you're starting to get constricted. You just start to tense up, and so what had happened was I was out and about and I was chatting with someone, had a great conversation, and then they left, but I kept my attention on them. And the reason I did was I picked up on a pattern that I felt they had, that I used to have. But the more longer I kept my attention on them, the more I actually felt that pattern. And it got to a point where I got so like constricted up, and then I actually scratched my foot, and as Archangel Christiel said, she said the little thorn was trying to help you, snap you out of it, but you still didn't. And so the little thorn did its best, but I was so constricted up at that point. And then the next like hour and a half, I was all in my head and in these old patterns and stuff that I had mostly dealt with, obviously not fully because I was still working through that. But it was a real eye-opener for me that well, one of them is that when you put your attention on someone, you will feel what they're feeling. And of course, we all have different sensitivities, and as we go on our journey, our sensitivities increase. And I'm so thankful for that person, because that was perfect to assist me in learning this stuff. And another remarkable thing that Archangel Christiel said was that to remember that every single human's higher self loves you unconditionally. And something I recently learned from the founders was, who are channeled by a guy named Sal. I'm not sure his last name, but it was really amazing, and talked about every single, basically that we are, that the universe approves of you, or God approves of you, Source approves of you, and everyone and everything is Source. So bringing it back to this and merging the two, you can think of that every single human, their higher self, their essence, loves you and approves of you. Every single one. So now maybe this can assist you if you were like me and you would always think about what people are thinking about you. So that was a really tough program for me to break out of. But when I know that every single human's higher self loves you unconditionally and approves of you, you realize, wow. So if anything, and only loving thoughts are true. So if their ego is having a fearful thought about you, it's not even about you. It's just a projection of their own fear. And what it's really saying is that they fear that you will betray them. So yeah, it's when we start to get into it, it all becomes so simple. And the last thing I wanted to say on this video is just that no matter what stage you're at, if you're getting frustrated, if you're like, oh, I've been, doing these things and things I'm learning from others and I'm still feeling fear, just keep going. Keep moving forward. Keep going. The more you keep going and the more that you just strive ahead every day, the easier and easier and easier it'll get, until one day you'll wake up and you will have no fear. And like the other thing is that it's a lot faster to get rid of the fear than it was to program you. And especially at this time, I feel, with so many amazing human beings on this planet sharing information. And I'd also like to share that a foundation for my learning these last few years has been A Course in Miracles. And so when I was watching the last video, I realized that some things were from that, and I was giving shout outs and I didn't mention that one. But A Course in Miracles has been like a very strong foundation for me. And sometimes, like, I had to read it literally 3 times, read it through one time, read it through a second time, and take notes, and then read over the notes, because it's so rich. And there'll be different things that pop out at you, and you'll write them down, but maybe like 2 months later, 4 months later, that will pop into your head and it will be the answer. It'll be the solution. And so that's one thing that it was mentioned in Course in Miracles, which is a channeled text of Yeshua. And what it was mentioned was, it's a lot faster to undo the illusions than it was to basically program us and put all these in. So what I'm saying is that once you start down this journey of releasing fear, releasing the illusion, that to have faith that it's going to all be gone. It's all going to dissipate. Some of them will take longer than others. Some are way deeper than you may think. At least for me, some I thought I had dealt with, and then it just unlocked another layer of it. And then I thought I dealt with it, and it unlocked another layer of it. So it's a journey, but just keep going. That's what I'm wanting to encourage you, to empower you, and to keep going, to trust in yourself, and you got this for sure, 100%. Like if I could, you can. Like I was so I was fearful of like everything. I can't even believe how low I got. It was, and to where I am now is phenomenal. So, and I'm sure you've heard that story from many other people, and there's lots of really cool stories like that, and brings up a idea I saw from Bashar, and he talks about this rubber band, that the farther we go into the lower frequency or into the darkness, the more faster we'll go into the light or into the higher frequency. So, and then from a channeling from Daniel Scranton, and I feel it was the Arcturian Council, they talk about how as a spiritual being, it's like we want to see how far we can go from source and then to come back. And so that's this journey that we're on, and so have faith and trust and keep going. All right, with that, I will send you on your way. Have a beautiful day. Much love and gratitude, and take care. Bye-bye.